Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really cracking open the essential mechanics of the American financial system.
Yeah, and our sources for this are really interesting. They're a mix of these foundational guides for people new to the country and then also some, high-level security insights that are vital for basically everyone.
It feels like a critical mission, really, because finance is it's the bedrock of everything here.
It absolutely is. I mean, whether you're earning, spending, or saving, you are operating inside this massive, interconnected financial web.
So our goal today isn't to make you an expert overnight. It's more about targeted financial literacy.
Exactly. Moving beyond just the basic definitions and really understanding the strategy. How do you make your money work for you? And how do you protect your identity while you're building your future?
We've organized this around what our guides call the 3 pillars of financial wellness: smart budgeting, mastering debt and credit, and of course, taxes. Okay, so let's just dive right in.
Let's start with the paycheck.
Yeah.
Most people get the difference between gross pay and net pay.
Right? Gross is the big number, the one you wish you got. And net is what actually, hits your bank account.
But the real strategy here, the key piece, is in the space between those two numbers. It's all about your pre-tax deductions.
This is where you can really maximize your benefits, right? Because these deductions, like for health insurance or a flexible spending account, they're taken out before your income gets taxed.
Precisely. So by contributing to these, you immediately lower your taxable income for the whole year. It's one of the quickest ways to impact your cash flow.
And that's different from post-tax deductions.
Very different. Things like maybe uniform costs or parking fees your employer charges.
Yeah.
Those come out after the IRS has already calculated your tax, so you don't get that immediate tax break on them.
It seems like a small detail, but over a year, that could be thousands of dollars.
For sure. And speaking of efficiency, the way you get paid matters too. The paper check is pretty much gone now, replaced by direct deposit.
Which just saves so much time. Your net pay goes straight to your bank account. You're not driving to a bank or waiting for a check to clear.
You're just waiting for the bank's computers to talk to your employer's computers, which is usually instant.
Okay, so the administrative backbone for all of this is the pay stub. It's like your financial report card.
It really is. It details your pay rate, your hours, every tax paid, every single deduction. You have to check it.
And why should you keep them, especially if everything's digital now?
Well, that digital access is great, but the pay stub itself is still crucial for income verification.
For things like renting an apartment or getting a loan.
Exactly. Landlords, banks, they want to see proof of your earnings history over time. We always recommend keeping at least a year's worth of stubs.
That brings up a good point about time frames. We see YTD, or year-to-date, on those stubs. We should probably clarify the 2 main time frames.
Right. So there's the calendar year, which is January 1st to December 31st. That's what most of us use for our personal taxes.
And then there's the fiscal year.
The fiscal year can be any 12-month period. For example, the U.S. federal government's fiscal year runs from October 1st to September 30th. It matters for government work, but less so for your personal income taxes.
Okay, so you have your pay. Now you need a safe place to put it. Let's talk about opening a bank account.
There are really 2 main requirements. First, you need an identification number. That's either a Social Security number, an SSN, or an ITIN.
And the ITIN is so important here, the individual taxpayer identification number.
It's a huge deal. It gives people who don't have a legal immigration status or an SSN a way to still open a bank account, pay taxes, and be part of the formal economy. It's a massive access point.
And the second requirement?
Just proof of your identity and address, usually a valid government-issued photo ID.
So once you're in the system, you have your basic checking account for daily spending and your savings account for, saving.
Right, and with the checking account, you have to be really vigilant about fees. There are monthly maintenance fees, maybe $5 to $20, but you can often get those waived.
How do you do that?
Usually by keeping a minimum balance or setting up direct deposit. But the real landmine, the one to avoid at all costs, is the overdraft fee.
Oh, yeah. Those are prude.
They average around $34. Every time you spend more than you have, bang, you get hit with that fee. It can wipe out a small account fast.
The savings account, on the other hand, is all about safety. It earns a little bit of interest from the bank.
A very little bit these days.
True. But the real protection is the FDIC.
The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. This is the key. It insures your deposits up to $250,000 if the bank fails. It means your money is safe. It's a foundational security measure of the whole system.
But this entire system is built around the idea of interest. What if your faith prohibits that? Our sources took a fascinating look at Islamic finance.
That's right. Sharia-compliant finance prohibits paying or receiving interest, which is known as riba. The philosophy is that money is just a means of exchange, not a product to be sold for a profit on its own.
So, no interest. How can you possibly finance something big like a car or a house?
Well, the transaction has to be tied to an actual physical asset. One of the most common methods is called murabaha, or cost-plus financing.
How does that work?
Instead of lending you money, the bank will buy the asset for you. Let's say it's a $15,000 car. Then it immediately sells that car to you for a markup, maybe $16,500.
Ah, so you pay back that higher amount in installments. The markup replaces the interest.
Exactly. And for something like a house, you often see a structure called a jara.
Which is like a lease.
It's a leasing contract, yeah. The bank owns the property, you lease it from them, and the contract is often set up so ownership gradually transfers to you by the end of the term. It's a totally different approach that fits right into the U.S. financial world.
Okay, so we know how we earn and where we can store money. Now, for the hard part for a lot of people, spending it. I saw a stat that something like 66% of Americans don't have a working budget.
That number is staggering, and it just shows how important having a plan is. A budget is just, allocating your net income, what you take home, to cover your expenses and save for your goals.
The key is figuring out your discretionary income.
That's the fun money. It's what's left over for wants after all your needs and your savings goals are covered.
And when you look at expenses, our sources draw a really clear line between fixed expenses
Like rent, insurance, loan payments, the stuff that's the same every month.
and variable expenses.
Groceries, gas, utilities, the things that can fluctuate a lot.
The guides offered some really clear benchmarks for this. Two critical ratios. First, housing.
Right. If your rent or mortgage is more than 30% of your net income, you might be in what's called a rent burden situation. It's a sign to maybe reconsider your housing or look for roommates.
And the second was transportation.
Yeah, if your transportation costs are creeping up above 15% of your net income, that's a clear signal to maybe look at alternatives like public transit or carpooling.
So those are markers for when you're off track. But what's the absolute number one priority when you're starting a new budget?
The emergency fund. Non-negotiable. Every financial advisor says the same thing. Aim for 3 to 6 months worth of your essential expenses saved up.
And it's critical where you keep that money, right?
Absolutely. It has to be in that FDIC-insured savings account. Safe, accessible, but separate from the money you use every day.
Okay, let's look to the future. Debt is almost universal in the U.S. Something like 87% of residents have some kind of debt, and it all gets boiled down into one number.
Your credit score. Usually a FICO or Vantage score on a scale from 300 to 850.
And a high score isn't just for bragging rights, it saves you real money.
Serious money. We saw that example of Ahmad. His score was low, around 560, so when he took out a $50,000 loan, his interest rate was much higher.
And over the life of the loan?
He paid $20,000 more than someone with excellent credit would have. Your score is a direct measure of financial opportunity.
So if the score is that important, what are the factors we should be obsessing over?
Payment history is king. It's 35% of your score. Just never, ever missing a payment is the most important thing you can do.
And what's number two?
Your credit utilization ratio. That's how much debt you're carrying compared to your total credit limit. It makes up about 30% of your score. You want to keep that ratio as low as possible.
So beyond managing debt, we have to plan for retirement. The two main tools here are the 401k and the IRA.
The 401k is the one you get through your employer. And the magic word there is match. If your employer offers a match, that's free money. You have to contribute enough to get the full match.
And then you have the choice between a traditional 401k and a Roth 401k.
Right, and it's all about when you want to pay taxes. With a traditional, you get a tax break now, but you pay taxes on the withdrawals in retirement.
A Roth is the opposite.
The opposite. You pay taxes on the money now before it goes in, but then all your withdrawals in retirement are 100% tax-free.
And an IRA, an individual retirement account, is just one you set up yourself, not tied to a job.
Exactly. Okay, so now we have to talk about protecting everything you've just built. The threat of identity theft is constant, and the single most powerful tool you have to fight it is a credit freeze.
This is where things get really practical and I think really interesting. A credit freeze is basically a lockdown on your credit file.
It is. It prevents anyone, even you, from opening a new line of credit in your name. If a thief steals your Social Security number, they can apply for a loan, but the lender can't pull your credit. The application gets denied.
And the most critical part here is that you have to do it 3 times.
Yes. You must place the freeze separately with all three major credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. It's free to do, and lifting it temporarily or thawing it when you need to apply for a mortgage yourself is also free.
And it's fast if you do it online. A freeze goes on within 1 business day, and a thaw happens within an hour.
It's an incredibly powerful tool. But this whole idea of securing your identity, it brings us to a really complex paradox in the U.S. system.
You're talking about the 1986 Immigration Reform and Control Act.
I am. That law created the I-9 form, the one you fill out to prove you're eligible to work. And what it inadvertently did was create this huge black market for identity documents.
Which leads to this sociological concept our sources explored called identity loans.
Right. And this is totally different from identity theft. This is where the legitimate owner of a Social Security number, maybe a younger family member or someone living abroad, willingly lets an unauthorized immigrant use their documents just for work.
So it's a form of like community mutual assistance. It's not the felony where you use someone's identity without them knowing.
Exactly. The source shared the story of a man named Manuel, an unauthorized immigrant. He needed an identity to get a union construction job, so he borrowed his uncle's SS.
And it made a huge difference for him.
A life-changing difference. He was able to earn $60,000 to $80,000 a year, a major economic step up. It just highlights this strange duality in the system.
So we've covered this whole journey today from, strategizing about your pre-tax deductions on a paycheck all the way to setting a budget using that 30% rule for housing.
And we ended with this duality of identity. On one hand, the universal need for everyone to protect their financial footprint with a tool like the credit freeze. And on the other, the social reality that for some people, that very same identity is being shared intentionally because of pressures in the labor market.
Which leaves us with this final provocative thought for you to consider. Given that the U.S. employment system kind of inadvertently encourages these identity loans as a form of mutual aid, how might the widespread adoption of the credit freeze, which is the best security tool out there, how might that impact this informal economy where one identity is intentionally being used by two people? It's a really compelling question to think about as you move forward with securing your own financial foundation.